Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got a game in the Izmail for you. Kedrov on the screen here. This is the build. Watching this game back, we just covered the ship yesterday on my channel. This game is actually a little bit more representative of how to play that ship than that one was, due to the pretty good armor angling that we're going to employ here. So we'll talk about that. But a question that I get a lot asked of me is, how do I shoot ships in smoke? And this had a couple of good examples in this game. So when we get closer to that, I'm going to briefly pause from this game, put up a ship diagram. We can kind of talk through it there, and then we'll see it in action. But, I get a lot of requests from you guys. I need help with this or that. Obviously, I can't make a video every single time someone says they need help with something, but I do keep an eye on what people are asking for, and this has been kind of a frequent question from people. So we'll have some good examples here. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Anyway, Izmail on the screen here. What we want to talk about with this ship, again, a lot of people are having trouble with this one. I got it with the comments yesterday where a lot of people were saying, yeah, the guns are good, we get that, but we don't really like the ship, and it's probably just because they're getting shot in the side. So kind of like what I mentioned yesterday, if you can get this thing pointing away from the enemy, that's where you're going to get the juiciest armor angling. Now you can see in the diagram there on the bottom, and it does have a little bit of a flat piece in the back, so that potentially could impact, if they hit it directly on that flat spot, you could potentially get some penetrations in there. But you don't want to ever point either the nose or the stern directly at the target. You want to usually incorporate about a 10-degree angle. That'll just further ensure that they're going to catch your ship at a steep angle. That's how you're going to promote those bounces. Anyway, keep an eye on that diagram here. This will be, we've turned away. Now we're at our max firing range. You can see on the map. I haven't upgraded this ship yet with the firing range module, so the white line's actually within the blue line in this game. But even at max range, he was probably barely out of the firing range of this ship at that point in time. But we still pulled the trigger. You're going to have some dispersion, so even if you think you're going to be just a little bit short, it still can be profitable to take those shots because you're going to have a little bit of the wonkiness due to the shells going all over, and then the ones that happen to go long will actually hit the ship like that. So not massive damage, but we did get a 4K salvo. It's more productive being able to fire that gun than, just not taking any shot for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever it is. Anyway, here's an enemy, Izmail, coming around. He's broadside, we're well angled, and you can see the difference in results here pretty easily. That's what's going to happen not only with this ship, Russian battleships, you get shot in the side, the citadels are readily available, you're going to get ripped to shreds. So I don't know if anyone's not shot at me yet because they're looking at a ship like this, angled, and they're like, it's not even worth my time. Normally, what you want to be doing is you're scanning the field for targets. You want to be looking for broadside. So even if you're just sitting here not taking shots, you're kind of deterring the enemy from actually shooting at you because undoubtedly, you can see on the map, we got at least 2 broadside ships there, about the same distance as me, but much more juicy, attractive targets than we are. So just even sitting here like this, you're kind of saving yourself some damage just by making your teammates more attractive than you, which is usually how you want to use your teammates. You want to use them as meat shields, lures, distractions, decoys. You want to be promoting the prospects of their juiciness to the enemy rather than your own. So kind of sounds sad, but frankly, that's just how you want to be doing it. Here's another Izmail. What's he doing? He's broadside. Again, we're angled. And see how steep that angling is. Those firing angles off the rear of the ship. Really, really juicy. Finally, someone shoots me there. I don't know if he missed all the shots or not, but he didn't really do any damage either way. We're just slowly backing up, trying to get him within that white ring so we can actually return fire. Finally, he already took a wicked salvo there. And again, this is a max range shot. Not moving very fast in the water, so we just aim right at the front of him, waterline, blast away, and there's another citadel there. So, this is how we're playing the ship, is how you want to play this ship, and battleships in general. You need to be angled at the enemy, which means basically pointing at or away from them. Sitting there broadside, doesn't matter what ship you're in. There's a couple exceptions here and there we're not going to get into right now. But in general, if you're getting shot in the broadside, that's when those Citadel ribbons pop up on the enemy screen. That's when your heartbeat sound effects go off on your screen. And that's when it says Brabadanya on the other guy's screen. So you don't want any of that to happen, and half your health disappears instantly is kind of the end result. But you avoid that by not getting shot inside. How do you do that? You angle your ship at the target. So this is kind of Battleship 101, but again, this is Izmail to a T. The firing angle rearward off of this thing is extremely juicy, extremely hard to get damage on this thing. Now, if they shoot HE at you, they might do a little bit of damage. But AP, HE, they're really only going to be doing damage by hitting those superstructures. And you can see the superstructures on this ship, bigger than some of the Russian battleships. Like the Nikolai comes to mind. I don't think that thing has any superstructure, really. But very hard to do non-AP pen damage into the hull into this thing, and the Russian ships in general. So if you're really focused on the angling in these Russian battleships, you can basically shut down the enemy's options when it comes to you and trying to get rid of you. Ganai's now coming around. We can see on the map he's broadside, so we're just going to go ahead. We could shoot the shot there blind, but we might as well just wait till he pokes out in front. And we got a waterline shot of that. Not going to get a Citadel on the Ganai's now at the waterline, but we do get a 20k give or take there either way. So juicy results, whether it's actually a Citadel or not, we don't really care about that. And the guns on this ship are extremely dangerous. It's a tier 6 battleship, not exactly a lightly armored battleship. Not a problem punching them in the gut, though. Oh, what's that? Okay, yeah, so here's what we're going to take a little bit of a break. Why do we have this ship on here? Well, we're going to be targeting the Belfast, but this is just a good opportunity to begin talking about blind firing people in smoke. Why I have this on here is the key to blind firing ships on smoke is understanding the flashes you see on the screen are from those turrets. If you shoot directly at the turrets, what are you going to do? You're either going to hit the turret or you're going to shoot over the ship, probably. You might get a couple shells that drift downward, do a little bit of damage. But the principle that is applicable here is the turrets are on the top of the ship. I can't really think of a battleship or any other ship in the game where the turrets are under the ship or inside the ship. They're pretty much always on top. So you're going to see flashes on your screen. Then mentally, you want to keep an eye on where that ship is. If they're broadside like they are here, you're going to have 2 flashes with a gap in between. That's ideal. If they're angled, then you're going to have 1 flash closer to you and then 1 slightly to the right or left and behind it. So that's an angled ship, much harder to deal with. But this is usually ships that are sitting in the smoke, going to be sitting here broadside. So you kind of get a read on, where the guns are indicating the ship is, aim down just a little bit, and then blast away. So we take one more shot of the Ganais now, and you can see on the map here the enemy's pushing into A pretty aggressively. So we're kind of hoping that the team's going to kill the Ganais now, but I don't want to just kind of leave A unattended. Our team really hasn't done anything. They kind of abandoned A right off the bat. I think Alaga went over there briefly just to commit suicide, but for the most part, we've kind of left it open. Now, they haven't capitalized yet. So here, what we're doing, we take a shot. He's in the smoke, obviously. We're going to wait for him to reload, fire away. You see that? We aimed under the section where those guns are. We got 7 hits right there. Didn't hit the Citadel in that particular shot, but, depending on how big your TV is, it might be an inch below those or whatever it is. You just got to practice it. Figure out that you're aiming below the point between those 2 lines. Because, again, the guns are on the top. And now we're going to keep an eye on this. I'm on the reload. So what I want to do, absorb a shot, but I want to kind of point to where he was. And then we can see he's actually moving from right to left. So I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at the Fuso while he calms down. I figured he might beach on the island or stop moving. The British smokes really aren't that big, so there's not a lot of room for them to dance around. But we took a shot at the Fuso, and then once we decide we're going to shoot at this Belfast here, we're going to shoot, just observe where these shots are coming from. I actually think the Pensacola, yeah, you can see another cruiser behind that little rock. But there we go, we pre-aim on that section. And then we're going to hold. We're going to let him shoot one more because he's demonstrated he's moving. Now he's moving left to right. We aim at where we think the front of the ship was. Again, below the ship. And boom, he's dead. So if you're thinking they're moving from right to left, left to right, just kind of aim at where you would imagine the front of that ship being, or the rear, whatever direction they're heading. And usually they're not going to be going lightning fast Destroyers sometimes, especially if they have big clouds like the USN destroyers, sometimes they can bob and weave in there a little bit more successfully, or they might be taking off and disengaging from the cloud entirely. Harder to hit those, obviously, but cruisers, those. This is kind of the main counter to the British cruisers. They're going to be popping the smoke. Kutuzov, these type of ships where they're going to be sitting in smoke a lot of times. Usually they're going to be broadside. A lot of players are careless in those type of situations, thinking they're immune because nobody shoots at them. And man, oh man, does it feel good when you inform them otherwise. So it's something. This is not an easy skill, by the way. And you got to keep in mind, normally you're not going to have the target selected right now. The Fuso's selected. We got the circle around his ship's icon. That increases your gunner's accuracy. So you always want to have the ship selected whenever possible. Blind fires into the smoke, though, you're not going to be able to select that ship because you can't see it to target the ship. So you're going to have a little bit more or a little bit less accuracy on the shot to begin with, and then you're kind of guessing where to shoot at. Not an easy shot by any means, but trust me, it's like shooting destroyers. It's one of those things where if you just throw up your hands and say, I can't possibly do this, you're not going to get any better. I guarantee it. It takes practice. You got to practice shooting destroyers. You got to practice shooting those ships in the smoke. You can see there, we did 2 salvos on the Belfast, hit them both times. Not a problem. One of them was moving too. So, it's something where if you practice those shots, you can counter those ships. And that really sends, what the Belfast would have done in my position, stop shooting. Or maybe, if I made the right decision, I would have stopped shooting. Because at that point in time, the player that's shooting you demonstrates that he can hit you. And I tell you, whenever you're going against a ship that can target you in the smoke and can hit you, then you're like, all right, immediately you got to be thinking, this guy knows what he's doing. This isn't your backyard scrub who's walking around, doing whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this goofy analogy, but it demonstrates a level of skill that a lot of players don't have. So it should put the fear in you. If you get shot in the smoke, blind fire, respect that player. Maybe stop shooting. Maybe at least think of, do I have a plan B? Can I get out of this? If you're stuck there, you got to keep shooting, try and whittle them down or kill them if possible. But if you got an opportunity to get out of there, escape, I would go ahead and take that opportunity if you can, because that player, you keep shooting, he's going to keep sighting you based on your flashes of your guns. He's going to blast you away. And not a lot you can really do about it. Now, if you're angled in there, much harder to hit because, of course, the gap between the right and left they're going to be basically stacked on top of each other in the enemy screen, and angled ships are harder to deal with to begin with. So that combination makes it a lot harder to deal with. And that just goes to show you that even if you're in the smoke, even if the enemy can't really see you on the screen, you should still try to be angled whenever possible. Not saying I always do it. Sometimes I'm sloppy and lazy. But sometimes when you're sloppy and lazy, you got someone on the enemy team that can punish you. So, great way to improve at this game. Take the sloppy plays out of your repertoire. It'll go a long way. Anyway, here again, we're back with this Fuso. He's actually been doing a pretty good job angling at me. And this is one of those rare cases. I was talking over it, but why I didn't want to switch to HE initially, even though he was angling well against me, was because we had that Pensacola floating around in the background. And usually I just try and hold on to the AP and the battleships. Not talking about King George, not talking about Nelson. Those are the battleships that I really would shoot HE 50% of the time or more. But almost every battleship I almost always want to shoot AP. But if this situation here, watching this back, I'm like, all right, maybe we, being a little bit stubborn here, a little bit mule-headed, probably should have just gone to switch HE. But we'll see in a minute why I prefer to keep the AP. Because whenever the enemy makes a mistake, you can't punish mistakes very effectively with HE. But you can punish those mistakes with AP. So in a second here, he's going to go broadside to us. We have an opportunity to punish him. No, I missed the shot. But again, if we had HE loaded, wouldn't have been able to punish him. Anyways, I'm going to be talking over this while that happens. But getting back to the blind fire, again, it comes down to practice. And I cannot stress enough that any skill in this game that you're not comfortable performing, again, shooting destroyers is probably the most common one, blind firing smoke, whatever it is, you got to practice those situations because you need to have the skills available to you, that when those opportunities arise, if you're going to protect yourself or someone on your team, you got to take that shot. If you're if you're not confident enough in your own skills to hit those shots into the smoke or against the destroyers, whatever it is, you're kind of letting yourself and your team down. So I'd always prefer if my teammates take those shots and miss rather than just not take them because they don't think they can do it. So anyway, that was a look at blind firing smoke and the Izmail. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, well, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.